Welcome to the Nicholas 11x12 technology. Today we're looking at a fairly cheap, yet modern laptop. I haven't reviewed a laptop for ages now. This is the ASUS X553MA laptop, the black model with the Intel Pentium processor. As far as I know, there also are Celeron versions available, and you could also get these laptops in white, red, and blue as far as I know, but I'm not sure about that. This laptop currently costs about $400 US, but I luckily got it for about $320, which is quite nice. Right away I want to point out I indeed purchased this laptop, not for myself but for my mother as a birthday gift. A pretty expensive gift, but it's an exception this year, since she's been reading a lot on her 3.8-inch phone and 10-inch tablet. She has some problems with her eyes, and a couple months of reading on her tablet worsened her vision like 30%, which was quite shocking to me. So I decided to spend a lot more for her gift this year to help her out that way. Although I'll now have to wait 2 to 3 months now before I get that money back together again, I think it was totally worth it. The laptop comes nicely packaged in this nice black box, and inside of it, of course, is the laptop itself, all the manuals, guides and all its stuff, the driver CD, download the latest ones from the ASUS website, and last but not least, a small power supply. Ideal size to carry it around and put it into bags. Alright, first of all, you probably want to know the specs of this laptop. As for the CPU, the Intel Pentium N3530 quad core is used with a base clock of 2.16 GHz and a turbo clock of 2.58 GHz. As you'd expect at this price point, there's no AMD or Nvidia GPU on here. Instead, the standard Intel HD graphics GPU. We have 4GB of DDR3, 1333 memory here, however you could also expand to 8GB. As for storage, this model comes with a 500GB 5400 RPM HDD. The display, of course, is nothing too spectacular. It's a 15.6-inch LCD display with an LED backlight and a resolution of 1366 by 768. Of course, it's a TN panel. On the right side is an optical drive, which is still nice to have on laptops too, but all the other connections are entirely on the left side, which in my opinion is very good. Here we have the DC input for the power supply, and the RJ45GB LAN port, but of course 802.11 BGN WLAN is also supported, as well as Bluetooth 4.0, a VGA and an HDMI output for external monitors, and USB 3.0 port, very nice to have at this price point, the card reader, a standard USB 2.0 port, and an audio combo port, acting as audio output for headphones, as well as a microphone input for microphones obviously. ASUS advertises with good sound quality, both the built-in speakers and the audio output. I'll test it a little bit later. First of all, the top, or should I say the back of the screen, looks absolutely fantastic. However, I'm not sure if the camera can capture that well enough for you to see. The design is beautiful and all, but a horrible fingerprint magnet. The hinge quality seems to be fine. The keyboard works very well, is responsive, and has a good feel to it. Unfortunately, I could only get the Russian keyboard version of this laptop, but that's not a problem, I guess. Obviously, this is a full-size keyboard with the numpad and, as you'd expect, there's the FN key, also known as function, which brings you a lot more key combinations for sleep, airplane mode, brightness levels, turn the screen on and off, enable external monitors, turn touchpad on and off, volume up, down, and mute, the arrow keys as media keys at the same time, and then up here again, print screen, insert, and so on. What I noticed is the keyboard is a bit flimsy in the center, same goes for the touchpad. Other than that, you get a nice large touchpad surface that supports multiple gestures with 1 finger, 2 fingers, as well as 3 fingers. As a quick example, to right click you tap with 2 fingers. To scroll, you'd either swipe horizontally or vertically with 2 fingers. I really like the touchpad, very easy to use. Also, by now you've surely already noticed the design here has that brushed aluminum look, something that I always love seeing, but that's plastic actually. In this case I'm glad it is, since brushed aluminum would be another fingerprint magnet and that wouldn't look very nice. As you can see, the laptop is fairly slim, and I really can't complain about the weight of just 2.2 kilograms, including the battery. Speaking of battery, obviously the battery can't be taken out. It's built in, it's a 2-cell battery. Doesn't seem to be that bad, but it would have been better if you could take out the battery. Although it's only a 2-cell battery, the battery life is totally fine in my opinion. You can definitely do web surfing or watch videos with this notebook for several hours. To some, the battery might not last long. In my eyes, however, a clear pass. It's always depending on what you do. Demanding stuff, of course, needs more power. 2 cells are enough for this low power laptop, with a power consumption of just 18 to 20 watts at max. The Intel Pentium N3530 only has a TDP of only 7.5 watts, therefore runs super cool with 37-38 degrees on idle and 67 to 70 degrees Celsius on full load. The laptop pretty much is dead silent, especially on idle, but even on full load, the fan is barely hearable. On the bottom are 2 vents on each side, and that's also where the built-in speakers are. However, there are no vents completely on the bottom of this laptop. Instead, the vents are located on that side, so the exhaust of warm air is no problem here, and besides, this means this really is a laptop. You can place it on your lap without any concerns. To measure the performance of this laptop, I ran through the 3D Mark Vantage CPU test. The Pentium processor scores about 5500 here, not bad at all. In Cinebench are 11.5, that are 1.87 points for the CPU and 6.66 frames per second in the OpenGL graphics test. So the CPU performance isn't bad at all actually, but the Intel HD graphics GPU is extremely weak. Therefore, gaming as you'd expect anyways at a price point of about $400 is not an option, and that's clearly visible here in the Unigine Valley benchmark. In my opinion, the performance of CPU and GPU is totally fine, but the HDD is really slow at times. I've seen much faster ones in cheap laptops. Besides, it's fairly loud, especially since the rest of the laptop pretty much is dead silent. Probably the biggest negative aspect of this ASUS X553MA laptop is the display. You know, I'm very critical when it comes to displays, and this one has awfully washed out colors, has lots of corny pixels with certain colors, the color accuracy is very bad, there's a lot of noise at times, not audible noise, I mean image noise, and the response time is horrible too. The color depth is horrible. The viewing angles are surprisingly fine though, not good, not bad. The audio output quality through headphones is very good though for the price, and I also can't complain about the built-in speakers. ASUS kept their promise, definitely better than on most other cheap laptops. And I guess this pretty much wraps it up. This specific model came with no operating system installed, so I had to install Windows 8.1 myself. But as far as I'm concerned, these X553MAs are sold with Windows 8.1, mostly. So yeah, the ASUS X553MA is an okay laptop. Nothing special, but also not necessarily bad in certain aspects. The overall experience is average. The display is horrible and the hard drive is a bit on the slow side, but other than that, a completely fine laptop with great aesthetics, a good keyboard and touchpad, and a good amount of connectors, ports and all that stuff. The audio aspect is fantastic. The Wi-Fi signal receiver is a bit weak at times, but still fine. If you don't care about the display and slow hard drive performance, I would recommend this ASUS X553MA laptop. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and visit nicholas11x12techx.com to see videos there earlier than on YouTube.